What's up, everybody? DeFi After Party here, and I got Grover on the line. Um, this is his, I believe, his second appearance in the wild.
It's
I
second appearance with you in the wild.
yeah, I caught
Welcome.
him
Hi,
again.
everyone.
I caught him again. So I wanted to bring Grover on. We've been trying to get together here to talk about his LSteak project and protocol. And I have no clue about what's going on. And most people know that, I do content for, in the EMP ecosystem, Plazm, Eshare, Fusion, DexFi, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, Grover's been one of these people that have been in the EMP ecosystem for a while. And Grover, are you like considered an OG? I'm assuming you are.
I was I started with EMP probably 3 months after its launch, and
So,
DexFi. I was in DexFi uh, at launch, which was probably about 6 months before that, I think.
oh wow. So going back. So
Going back.
Grover's an OG, and for those of you that don't know that are not in Telegram chat, Grover is the math guy. So when people want to know like what's going to happen if Plasm dumps with like millions of tokens being dumped, here comes Grover with a mathematical floor prediction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's basically our math whiz and our purveyor of all things statistical, if you will. So he's coming out with this project called LSteak, and so I wanted to bring him on and explain what it is because I don't even know what's going on because I've been kind of out of the loop about it. So Grover, first of all, give us the high level overview of what LSteak is, and then I'm going to ask some questions when I start thinking of them.
Well, first of all, I need to explain a little bit. You've probably heard about liquid staking in method with things like Ethereum. Right? What LStake is a liquid staking derivative that is fully backed with a hedge. Now, what that means is it has its own yield engine, which uses Bernard bonds as part of the backing, and it also has BTC, Ethereum, and gold as a hedge against market volatility. Right? So this means that the actual price of LStake stays relatively stable, and the liquid staking portion consistently basically has an only up mechanics. Because it's a redemption ratio on the number of tokens, just like liquid staking Ethereum is. So it's designed to be able to handle volatile markets, bears, and that type of scenario best, and boom, obviously, like the rest of the market in a bull. It's a safe place to park your tokens in any environment, and to be able to come out better than market conditions.
Okay, let me ask a question here because I, I know to make, videos and do these interviews and things like that. And I've been in crypto since about, I think it was like 2013, but I was just a beginner there. I didn't really start learning a lot of this, stuff, like kind of more like the DeFi side of stuff until about, I would say like 2 or 3 years ago, when I started getting more involved and started seeing videos like the one we're doing right now, like with, Rec to Riches, Thomas G, and who's the
Yep.
one that actually I saw the very first video of EMP was because of him. So thank you, Thomas G. You got me to a great place. But explain because even I don't really know. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the smartest person in crypto. I'm definitely probably one of the dumbest people in crypto. But what is liquid staking? Just give me the like explain it to a fifth grader. Now I can it sounds like staking tokens that are in other words liquid that are either you can you're holding them in your wallet and they're staked so to speak
That,
because it's
that
liquid.
that is pretty much it. What it is it's instead of staking in a contract where you may be stuck in there for 6 months, 12 months, whatever, right? You receive a staking token in return, right? Now, it doesn't give you yield as in dollars per day. it puts the yield instead back into the backing of that token. So what happens is initially, we'll use eShare as an example. So when you enter, what happens is eShare goes into the staking contract, right? And then you get in return what we call an extra layer token, right? Now that starts off at a 1-to-1 ratio. So one eShare equals one extra layer token, right? Then the yield engine, all right, creates yield. Just like it uses bonds, so just the same way, it spits out USDC. What then happens is a portion of that yield goes towards compounding your yield engine. So you actually are increasing your yield, and a portion goes into the extra layer. And it buys eShare and puts it into the backing without minting any more tokens. So what then happens is one extra layer token, then the amount of tokens you can redeem it for increases. So it may have started at one extra layer token for one eShare, but over time it'll go to one extra layer token for 1.1 eShare, for 1.2 eShare, for 1.3 eShare. So by leaving it in there, you're growing the number of eShare you can get when you decide to redeem it. That's the basis of liquid staking. It's a token, and you're not locked in. You can redeem it at any time because it also has liquidity pairs. If you wanted to, you could also sell it for Ethereum or whatever.
So is there, because you said you can redeem it at any time, is
Yes.
there any consequences to redeeming it? Let's say in a week as opposed to a month or a year? Like, what's the
No,
negatives and
there's
positives to
no
doing that?
consequences. Like if you enter and decide to come out in a week's time, you will get whatever the redemption ratio is when you exit. Right. If you decided to sell it out, you would incur some slippage, just like a normal sell or swap of token.
Okay. So my other question then is, I mean, obviously the idea behind staking period in any protocol is to stake your tokens to basically get more of those tokens or profit in some sort of way from the staking, right?
Yes,
So my question is now you said this is liquid staking is basically which means not locked up.
that's correct.
So are you, let's say for you used eShare as an example. So we'll stick with eShare. So let's say I submit or stake one eShare, right?
Yep.
Do you touch that eShare in any way to, create more capital to put into like the bonds to increase yield or any other kind of mechanism like that?
Okay. Now, yes, but in order to, okay, eShare uses a different portion of LStake. It uses what's known as the liquid staking as a service portion. All right. LStake itself works a bit differently. All right. With LStake, the core LStake system, you enter with USDC or Ethereum. That directly buys your backing and your yield engine. You then get an LStake token in return, which you can then stake in the extra layer contract. And the extra layer contract works in the same manner as described. With the LSAS, so where you would be putting eShare in, what it has to do to generate your yield engine, it has to be able to transfer the value of eShare into the yield engine, but we want to do that without dumping either eShare. So how it does that is, first of all, it attempts to market sell as much as it can without causing dumping of the price. And it does this by, initially it'll sell some eShare, right? And use that to create the yield engine. That then creates a accounting token version of LStake, which is then sold back onto the market up to a slippage cap. and then those funds are then used to rebuy the same amount of eShare utilized, which are then put into the extra layer contract. Any excess that hasn't had the value transferred goes into an escrow system, which over time uses the same a similar type of systems to transfer all of those tokens' value into the yield engine. So it does have to do market sells and buys, but it does it in a way which doesn't dump tokens. There may be a very slight slippage due to it, but in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be negligible, like 0.5%, 0.2% type thing. Then once that value is in the yield engine, it's earning yield. It's then increasing the redemption ratio of the extra layer token.
Got it. Okay. I was just wondering because I'm like, well, if and now I'm remembering about, staking as a service because I've seen some of this information in the chats. And so I remember like, oh yeah, some of these tokens, some of these, quote unquote outside tokens will be brought into the LSteak system in some way, shape, or form, and then it'll be done as a service. So speaking on that, I mean, generally speaking, what LSteak is doing is that it's saying, look, bring your tokens into our system, into our protocol to stake, and what we're going to do is we're going to essentially take part of that money and build up capital to basically just increase the price of the token over time, right? I mean, isn't
It
that the
increases
real
it.
gist of
Well,
it?
it does do that exactly. I mean, like because you're compounding into the background of the actual extra layer, right? Firstly, it's transferred value without dumping the token. So the price at that point stays relatively the same. But the compounding effect, what that has to do is it has to buy eShare to be able to compound that into the backing of the token. So that compounding is putting constant buy pressure on eShare. Well, actually every 10 minutes because it's on a 10-minute drip. It's constantly buying more eShare every day, every 10 minutes of every day to increase the backing of the extra layer token. So it's first of all, it's put on by a constant and consistent buy pressure onto the partner token. The second thing that happens is one of the biggest problems with a lot of projects is they have a lot of liquid supply, right, which is able to be dumped, right? And people are just sitting there holding the token because that's pretty much all they can do. Apart from sell it, that's pretty much all they can do. So what this then does is these people that are holding that token can go, well, I can park this token knowing that it's not going to go down in quantity, right? And I'm going to end up with more. But the other side effect is now that they're in that contract, they're no longer liquid supply until someone redeems them. So this increases the supply demand ratio of the token. So as a result, the price has a tendency to trend up from both buys and reduction in liquid supply.
Right. Yeah. So how, because you have staking as a service in your mind, how many tokens, or protocol tokens are you trying to like onboard here? Or are you thinking like, I already know you have partnerships with EMP, with the eShare token, and I believe Plazm too. But I mean, are you also eventually looking to be like, hey, let's get, these other protocols out there involved in this too?
Yes. Yes, the whole idea of this is for eventually for it to grow to the same size as projects like Rocket and Lido and so forth, and any project that requires a use case, some way to help their project can onboard and utilize the system. So the horizontal expansion is limitless. And every expansion increases the liquidity. It increases exit routes for people with the token. So price slippage for people trying to exit a token becomes less. The system's able to handle more, and the system scales exponentially in how much it can handle. So 2 partners it can handle more, 3 partners it can handle even more, 4, etc. So as the expansion continues, it can expand faster.
So what is, besides people just generally speaking getting extra tokens for staking, what is, I'm assuming for different protocols, there's going to basically be different percentages for staking. Am I right in saying that? Or is there going to be like a general, percentage?
Uh, each system that a protocol gets is effectively exactly the same. It's a contract factory. So what they're getting is the same system, and it's the same. There are some percentages that they can change to suit their particular ecosystem, as in how much yield goes to compounding in the backing, how much goes into the compounding of the yield engine, how much they decide wishes to be burnt, and a few other variables within set ranges. Each project can change, but as a whole, the actual LSAS system is a siloed system that doesn't have any negative backflow onto the XL to the LStake system. So, in all honesty, a partner project can crash and it won't negatively affect LStake. But they get the same system, right? What happens is, depending on the actual size of the project, there is different onboarding fees for the project and liquidity provision requirements. For small projects, the upfront cash portion is smaller compared to the upfront cash, because they're a higher risk. They provide more of the total fee in liquidity. If they're a larger project with larger stability, as a general rule, they've got more cash available, but their liquidity they don't really want to move or change. So they have a larger cash portion and a smaller liquidity portion of the fees that they pay to get in. And that scales up all the way up to massive whale projects.
Gotcha. So let's I like when I do these interviews, Grover, I like to put like practical examples that, people could really like touch and feel, so to speak. So let's say, for example, because I believe Plazm is going to be one of the first partners. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's
So
correct. Let's do an example of Eshare and Plazm, right?
okay.
Because they're our 2 partners. Now, they, as in size-wise, they're relatively similar, right? So their initial overall cost is going to be about 20,000, right? For eShare, because it's a more established project, because it has more cash, and more established projects have a tendency to have more treasury available. Its cash upfront portion will be 10,000, and its liquidity portion will be 10,000. Right. Whereas Plazm, it's a younger project, similar. It's getting in the similar range bracket of size, so its fee will still be the same, but its cash upfront portion will be 5,000, and its liquidity portion will be 15,000. Now, because of how we can set up the liquidity, right, a large portion of the liquidity that they make can just use the project's token without selling any. Right? So the actual initial cash outlay works out to be smaller for small projects and larger for large projects, as they can afford that.
Gotcha. So now that is the protocol side. let's talk about the user side. So let's say, and let's use Plasm as an example here because I think Plasm, especially at the time of making this video, is kind of going to be more relevant uh, to what LSteak is providing simply because of a very interesting thing that's happening right now with Plasm, which is, people are having these unlocks. There might be some people that are holding, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, maybe even half a million, Plasm tokens. But they can't restake them right now to get more tokens because the contribution fee would be astronomical. Okay. Now that's opinion. That is not really my opinion. That's just like the sentiment of some of the
Yes,
community currently.
yes.
But is this another, would this be another idea or strategy or alternative for them to stake their plasma tokens with LStake? And if so,
Most definitely.
how does that all work?
Most definitely. Um, Firstly, after creating an intensive Excel spreadsheet to do really accurate simulations of the LSAS system, we're actually going to be bringing out Plazm as the first partner, followed by eShare, as this is the best method for the ecosystem of both LStake and Plazm and eShare. Uh, in regards to Plazm, right? This because of what Plazm is, the price of its token, and the relative amount of liquid supply, is the rate of onboarding for Plazm will be fast, and the rate of
Uh-oh, I'm not sure if.
so
Oh,
the the you can't, it's hard to say APR, but the APR that you will be getting will be decent, around about the 20 to 30% APR. What this means is that people with Plazm floating around waiting to be able to restake it into the Plazm system, right? They will be able to go, okay, instead of just sitting here waiting for me to be able to restake without having to pay a large contribution amount, I can then put this Plazm into the LStake system. I can leave it there and wait until whenever I feel it's best for me to do, knowing that I won't get less Plazm back in return, that I'll end up with more Plazm in return to be able to stake back into the Plazm system. So what then happens is it enables these tokens to be, again, taken out of liquid supply, earning the user more Plazm, so that when they decide to re-enter enter the Plazm system, they've got more to actually stake.
right. Got it. So it is, I mean, for the people that are watching this video that, are in Plasm right now and you might feel like they're stuck, so to speak, this is going to be an option for them to not have to essentially sit and wait. I mean, obviously they're going to have to sit and wait, but at least they'll be sitting and waiting while still gaining some tokens,
That's
right?
right. It turns the sitting and waiting from having no return from just those tokens sitting there into having them sit and getting your returns in Plasm. All right.
Right.
So when you finally do decide, okay, the contribution amount isn't that significant, I wish to restake, you have more Plasm to restake.
Right. Well, I like the idea. Um, I think it's very interesting because, like I said, there are a few people, in the Plasm ecosystem right now that, were there from close to day one, or at least the first cycle, and had all these bunch of tokens, but they might not be able to afford to restake them at this point in time due to the contribution the contribution cost being, quote unquote high or higher than they anticipated. So this is just gonna be another angle. So okay,
One other thing that is important to note with that is because of that the tokens are staked. One, they are out of circulating supply, but the system's putting constant buy pressure. So Plazm's got its buy and burn, which buy and burn system, which is great and helps push up the price. But else the LSteak LSAS is also buying tokens. There is also a burn portion of the that can be allocated by the project to burn tokens as well. So this then helps amplifies the increase in the floor price of Plazm, which makes it so that the time it takes for the contribution portion to reduce is shorter.
right. So I mean, basically, and I'm kind of getting, more of a clear picture now, Grover, of, at least what the the staking as a service side is doing. I
Yes,
mean, the general, put it in English and explain it to a fifth grader version is from a user standpoint, is stake your tokens. In this example, it's Plasm. You stake your Plasm tokens, and you're basically going to get, you know, some APR. It's basically not going to be this, ginormous APR, but what you're really doing is you're getting something APR wise. You're going to be getting more tokens in the long run, and
yes,
at the same time, simultaneously, you're helping basically put buy pressure and burn pressure on that token as well by participating in the LSTake protocol. Correct?
that's correct. That's
Wow.
correct. You're by participating in it, not only are you padding your own bags, you're also like directly increasing your quantity of tokens. The value will obviously to be dependent on the value of the actual token. But as far as quantity of tokens are concerned, you're increasing your quantity of tokens, but the system that you're participating in helps improve the ecosystem that you're coming from.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I mean, it makes more sense to me now than even at the beginning of this interview, just to be quite straightforward with you,
Well, one
Grover.
of the other flow on things, for example, for Plasm, which is one of the reasons why we're going to be putting it on first, and eShare second, is Plasm when it compounds has to buy eShare.
Hmm.
So it's started off. It's able to put value into the yield engine, so it's able to end up buying more eShare, pushing the price of that up as well. Then we bring in eShare as the second partner because we've got one partner onboarded. The value of transfer into the yield engine is faster, and then eShare does the same thing. It's you get those same benefits directly for eShare, but because the price of eShare is going up, Plasm's going up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and everybody knows that follows my channel. I'm bullish on eShare. I mean, more bullish on eShare than Plasm. But
Yes.
but the point, and I know, me and you have had conversations too, through interviews like this, Grover, where we talked about eShare being way undervalued, even if it's currently at like around $12 right now, because sooner or later we're going to be hitting that 30, 50, $60 mark again, and then
Yep.
thereafter we're going to be hitting the 100, 200 mark, and then eventually in the very, very long run we'll be hitting that $1,000 mark, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
So this, if you are bullish on eShare and Plasm for that matter, and you're watching this video, number one, not financial advice, do your own research. But if you are down to help the cause, you are bullish on eShare, you're bullish on Plasm, you're bullish on the EMP ecosystem as a whole, anyways, because it's all entangled together and it's all working together to produce, dinero, if you will. Then LSteak is gonna like be adding more gas on the fire of what is already
That's
going
right.
on with both
It's going to be
protocols.
putting avgas on the fire. So I mean, like if you're bullish about the remainder of the EMP ecosystem, then you should be just as bullish, if not more so, on LStake. And the higher that we can get the initial raise, the faster and more impact that's the and higher the APR will be able to be for partner tokens.
So let's talk about that. So because I started understanding more about this from the the staking as a service side. So
Yes,
let's just kind of talk about the non side of that, which
the primary section.
for the most part, yeah, which is the front facing side, which is you know let me ask this because I'm a little confused. Maybe this will clear it up. I understand that generally what the protocol is doing, but I would like
Mhm.
to kind of more think about it from let's just look at the front facing side of it. None of the staking as a service side, although I know it's related, but let's just look at the front side. The front
LStake.
face, yeah, L stake. So
LStake. Right. The LStake core, right, because it's the core, is able to work differently. Right. It's able to utilize direct input of USDC and Ethereum to create the yield engine. So what happens? We'll go for we'll take an example of entry into LStake, right? The core system. You've got $100 worth of USDC, and you wish to enter into LStake. So you deposit that. You deposit that, all right? And let's say the initial redemption ratio is $1 is dollar for dollar there, all right? Now that $100 then gets split into three parts, all right? The first part is a minimum of 80% that goes into the Bernard Bonds yield engine, all right? The second part is a minimum of 5% into the hedge, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and gold. All right. And the third part, obviously, the project has to make money. There's a 5% cut for the treasury. All right. So that then goes into the backing. You get dollar for dollar LStake tokens. All right. Those LStake tokens represent the backing behind it, right? Which can't go down once the backing's in. It can't be removed. Right. The only way to exit is via the LPs. All right. So the backing always stays there. All right. You then right, that yield that yield engine earns is then split towards compounding into the yield engine, compounding into the extra layer, uh, increase in liquidity, burns of tokens, and burns of tokens. The yield gets a small 5% cuts going towards the treasury as well. Again, projects have to have to cover costs. What this does is twofold, right? With that L stake that you've got, you can then stake that into the extra layer, right? Which works the same way as the LSAS, right? The yield from the yield engine, as I said, is split. Some compounds into the backing. Now that doesn't mint any more L stake. So what that means is the value of one L stake, the actual backed value, so what is behind it, increases. So the backing value of L stake will go up to, let's say, $1.10 per L stake token. Now you got in at $1, and now its backing is $1.10. You've made a profit there. All right. Now, to get even more gains, all right, you stake that into the extra layer, and it's doing the same thing as the LSAS. Right. Part of the yield's going into the backing and increasing the redemption ratio. So you may have got in when it was a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's now 1 to 1.1. Now, what that does is it multiplies your return. So the LSteak token has gone up to $1.10 each, but the redemption ratio of XL of the extra layer has also gone up to $1 to 1.1 to 1. So when you redeem your XL tokens, you redeem your LSteak, you get 1.1 LSteak tokens, which each are worth $1.10. So your actual dollar increase goes up to around about $1.21.
Got it. Now let me ask this.
Does,
Let me ask this question, Grover. One of the things that I believe AJ and the EMP team has done very well recently, and of course this comes from being in the industry for a long time and having lots of meetings and just trying to perfect things as they're building and going on and getting community feedback, is this sounds all quote unquote complicated, but is it going to be easy for a user that doesn't really know anything about anything to come to the site and it'll be super easy? For example, Fusion went
definitely.
Fusion went
Most
from
definitely. Sorry, sorry. It will be as far as like behind the scenes. There are a lot of mechanics are making it work, right? And there'll be full transparency with contracts listed, debank links listed, etc. For you for those that wish to have a look at what's actually going, they can. But as far as front end user will see is dollar in, XL LSteak out. If you wish to stake that LSteak, you put that into the XL contract and get XL tokens in return, or and so on. So you put money in, you get LSteak. You can then choose if you want to put it into the to the extra layer, and you then get extra layer tokens back.
Gotcha.
So
Because
as simple as depositing money in a bank.
yeah, because really, Grover, the bottom line is the easier it is for people to interact with the protocols and the contracts, the easier it is for everybody to get involved and to stay involved. Like
Yes.
that was kind of the thing with Fusion. Even though I understood what was going on with like the original Fusion, most people that were new to the EMP ecosystem didn't understand what batteries were, didn't understand like, you know, why do I have to deposit EMP, or why is there NFT or microgrid marketplace? Like there was just too many, moving parts, so to speak.
Well, it's while the mechanics and the idea behind it was sound and so forth, the front facing portion of it was rather complicated and needed a lot of explaining. I mean, like even UI for with LSteak, it's going to be very simple UI. I mean, there will be obviously a landing page which describes what LSteak is, and then you go to the D app, and the landing page for the D app will basically be like depositing into a bank. There will be minimal statistics to confuse you, but there will be a secondary tab to have a look into those statistics if that's something that you wish to look into. So minimal clutter, minimal confusion, easy entry design, with easy institutional grade design. So as easy as depositing money in a bank.
Got it. So then the front facing main protocol, LSteak,
Yes.
is is basically is basically designed for two main, this is my opinion, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but for two main reasons out the gate. Number one is to basically raise capital and get the engine going so
Yes.
that we can then also then help onboard, these software or these staking as a service things, because it sounds like we really can't do the software, the staking as a service thing unless this front part is already in motion. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, because of how I won't go into depths of how the actual the LStake the LSAS system works because that's just going to start to confuse people. But it needs for that portion to work, it needs the core system to be up and running. Right now, we're already at a stage in the raise where we can launch as we can launch with the amount that we've got. The system will be operating. It's and will be operating well. We'll be able to onboard LSAS partners. We're at the stage where now pretty much every dollar that we get on top of this makes it stronger and helps the LSAS system work better. All right. So from here on in, we're at a stage where every dollar that we get in the raise helps the entire system work stronger, increase yield, and also helps the add-on LSAS system, and it helps speed that up, helps make that get better returns as well.
Got it. So, because see, that's where I was confused. I was confused on, what is the main front face, part of the protocol do? What is it for? Right? I already got that answered. I was confused about what the staking as a service was. I got that answered, and now I'm seeing how basically they connect together because now it's all making sense. And I know Grover that when it all comes out and the website's done and you start pressing buttons and you start making deposits, it all becomes very simple and very real, just like the new Fusion website did.
Yep.
And even like the original Fusion website did. I mean, it seemed confusing from the original AMAs going over what Fusion was going to be with the microgrids and the batteries and all that kind of crap. But when it was all said and done, it all made sense. So what I'm just trying to do here, for the people that are subscribers to my channel and the people that are just going to find this video in general, I want to just be able to explain it in a way that is easy to understand because for me, for example, Plazm, there was tons of AMAs and information prior to Plazm launching, but nobody really knew how it worked unless they were keen to information about that Plazm was a fork of Taurus Immunity, for example, right?
Yes.
And therefore, you could go research what those protocols were doing, which is what I did, and that's kind of how I
Yep.
knew how Plazm was going to work before the website even got launched.
Yep.
Um, but I was still able to gather information from doing AMAs with AJ and the EMP team as a whole to put pieces together in order to give some general information to people watching this video. And that's what I wanted to do with this. So if you're watching this video, let me just do a short recap of what I've now figured out by talking to good old Grover here. And Grover, correct me if I'm wrong if I say anything wrong. But here, let's go. Let's just shoot it like this. The main front-facing LStake protocol is going to do all the nerdy shit Grover said behind the scenes. All really what you need to know from the user standpoint is that you're basically helping build up capital to get the engine going so that we can bring on other partners into the staking as a service. For example, Plazm or eShare. So if you're in the EMP ecosystem, you should be really hype on this right now because this is just going to help us all out even more, right? But
That's right.
eventually, if you're watching this video and you're, from other ecosystems or other protocols, um, you might want to be reaching out to them, or maybe you're a founder of that ecosystem. You might want to drop Grover a message or hit him up in Telegram and be like, hey, I see what this thing is doing for Plazm and eShare, and I want to integrate it. I want to get involved with my protocol because we need some help over here to really rally the troops, so to speak, right? So that's the LSTake protocol, the front-facing part. Like we're getting the engine going, and in addition to that, you're also, if you're just essentially just going to be an investor, you're basically investing in this to basically make money, right? I mean, that's what we're all doing here with crypto
That's
anyway.
what. That's right.
So then the second part now is then all the staking things. And again, it's to essentially increase your bag on whatever token that is. The APR, the percentage might be low, But what you're really doing is you're getting rewarded for staking with the LStake protocol while simultaneously helping that token, essentially get burned and build up liquidity and things like that, so that eventually it'll increase that token price anyways over time. So basically, what Grover has done here, because he's this big math nerd, is he figured out a way behind the scenes to be like, hey, we can create something here. We can let the math, and we can help protocols out by essentially just staking. And people that come and stake are just going to help the protocol out behind the scenes by essentially utilizing what Grover has put forth. Did I miss anything?
It's No, you didn't miss anything. I mean, look, you've got LStake, which is the core system, right? Which is the core system, and you've got the LStake and the extra layer token. All right. Now we need to have that operating because each add-on partner is a different silo. It's siloed so that if something happens to that partner, so heaven forbid, eShare or Plazm go to zero. All right. All right. It's siloed so that doesn't infect the LStake core. But each of those silos needs the LStake token as the link, and the LStake liquidity as the link to be able to, because each silo has their own yield engine, right? They're not using the actual LStake engine; they've got their own individual yield engine, all right? So it has to use the LStake token as the bridge to be able to create their yield engine, all right? So it does that through an escrow system, and it is completely siloed. No, and the LStake within each silo is never sees the light of day apart from for accounting. So it's used as a placeholder token and transfer of value, and does not infect LStake, so want of a better word, in any way. So we have to get LStake going, and the stronger we have LStake going, the more the stronger we're able to support add-on partners. That being said, the more partners that on board, the stronger LStake becomes, and it also helps every other partner in the actual system. So the more partners that come on board, everyone in the LStake ecosystem and add-on partners benefits. So it becomes a very like the more that you on board, everyone benefits. LStake benefits. Plazm will benefit from eShare hopping on board. The next partner, Plazm and eShare will benefit from them hopping on board, and so forth. It scales. It scales very quickly as partners on board.
And that's essentially simply because more capital is coming into the system,
Yep.
which in turn is, essentially, for lack of a better term, or the short version is we're putting more money into Bernard bonds, and more yield is being generated to
Yep.
support the overall system, right?
It's more yield being generated, more liquidity is, so that it also starts dramatically deepening the liquidity, which enables faster transfer of value, which the whole system just the flywheels up the more it expands.
That's awesome, man. I One question before the next question is this I know probably eventually it'll go to different chains, but right now, just out the gate, we're just talking about base chain and building up some capital and what's the word I'm looking for, and some success stories through the base chain, right? Like, or
That's
are you going to
correct.
be launching other chains like anytime soon?
It's not going to be something until we've got the ability, until we're at a stage where LStakes on nice stable footing is got the ability to be able to port it to another chain. There to do that, because Bernard bonds are on base, there's going to be additional bridging involved and other things. So that's something that's further down in the roadmap that will happen. There are other things that will dramatically increase the usability that we have got on the roadmap. For example, we are going to be creating ETFs of the different tokens in the system. So you will be able to invest in an ETF that might be LSteak, XL Stake, eShare, XL eShare, Plazm, and XL Plazm, and get the benefits of all of those tokens' growth plus additional yield on top of that.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
My next question is you mentioned some spreadsheets. You
Yes.
wanna you wanna like we don't have to go over today. Maybe we can say that for another interview. But if you want to go over that, I mean, tell me what these if we are what are these spreadsheets about?
Well, we can go over it, but I think we might end up going over time if we do. But and anyone, if anyone wishes to actually come and contact me and we can go over them individually, that's not a problem. But they are full simulations of the LStake system and the LSAS system, including a market simulator that enables me to go, well, this is what will happen in a bull bear, sideways, even catastrophic black swan event, and so forth. I've built into the system guardrails all along the way. That's why I said that's why I've decided we needed a hedge, right? Because what happens in a bull market, you've got the Ethereum and BTC in there. They massively outperform gold, right? So your hedge, keeps a stable value during a bull and goes up. Sideways, gold outperforms Bitcoin and Ethereum, so your hedge portion goes up. The actual value of the LStake token goes up while the rest of the market's staying around the same. And in a bear market, gold dramatically outperforms the crypto market, which keeps the value, the dollar value of LStake either stable or depending on the market can increase it during a bear.
Right.
The other guardrail that one of the other guardrails that we've got is there's an emergency pause system. All right. Now this is designed for a catastrophic event, like for example a hack, an exploit, something that is catastrophic. Right. And what this does is it enables us to do a 72-hour pause, which can't be indefinitely extended. During that period, we can assess what needs to be done. And if it's decided that it is a total catastrophic event, we can then liquidate the backing and return the funds to every user proportional to their investment.
That's cool. I mean, because a lot of people a lot of people blindly invest in all kinds of crazy crypto protocols and they think that hey, my money's safe. Well, not when someone rugs and they're
Well, that's
and they're
right, and also we've got multi sigs. There's 72 time hour locks on changing. There are some variables that we can change, like for example, the entry split. The minimum bond split is 80%, but the maximum is 90%. The minimum split for the hedge is 5%. The maximum of that is 15%. The treasury can't be changed. No treasury cut can be. They are hard coded at 5%. So we can't decide, oh yeah, we want more money. It's hard coded and can't be changed. All right. The same with the yield splits. I can't remember off the top of my head the ranges, but they are range splits, and the treasury cut is hard coded 5%. So we can't decide to take any more money. We also have what I call an excess system. All right. Out of all the funds that the Treasury gets, is it immediately allocates funds to operating costs and some to savings for of any incidentals or anything that happens in the future. That then has there's then an excess on top of that. Now, while we're building, that excess of the excess system can be turned on, and all of that excess can then be utilized for things like increasing backing for only positive things for the ecosystem. So increasing backing, increasing liquidity, buybacks and burns. So that enables us to rapidly help increase the foundation. And then once the foundation's off, we can then turn the excess system off and enable the treasury to have those excess funds. All contracts have multi-sigs for anything that they change, and 72-hour cooldowns. So there's not going to be decisions to be able to change things based on one person, and it's not a case of we can change it one day, we can change it every day. There's a 72-hour pause that stops changes from happening too rapidly.
Cool, man. I like it. Let me ask this. So I like the logo, by the way, man. I think it's cool. It's like it's like the bull. It's liquid. The arse part of it is a steak or the meat. Really
Yep.
cool. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I thought that the reason we designed it that way is a liquid steak, spelt steak, LSteak, and
Yeah.
you can have your steak and eat it too.
Yeah. So why don't we end with this? I mean, you currently are still doing a raise or the
Yes,
pre-launch, right?
that's right.
You have nearly $70,000 raised.
Yep.
Number one, when is this over? Just in case people want to do invest.
Investment will be stopped because obviously we want to have as much as we can to be as strong as we can as possible. Investment will have to be stopped when the contracts go to audit, because that is when we have to know how much liquidity values and certain launch values are. Now that will probably be around about 2 to 3 weeks before we launch. With launch at this stage, it did slow down a little bit with Fortune Fi needing some development by BTT, who are the developers. It has slowed down. So launch is looking end of February, early March at this point in time. So close of funds will most likely be mid-February.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So that's about a month from right now. Okay.
Yes.
Today is January 15th. So that's about a month from now. Okay, cool. And then,
Um,
so if people want to do invest, there's a minimum, I'm reading right here, a minimum of $500 USDC on the base chain.
that's correct.
Um, and so basically, there is no, like connect your wallet ordeal. You just basically copy this address and send $500 USDC to this address.
That's correct. I didn't want any potential exploits or anything there from linking a wallet. I wanted it to be as safe as possible. The funds are being held in custody by EMP, so it's not a case of I or the team here is able to access or change or do anything with those funds. Those funds are held in custody of EMP.
Gotcha. So when someone sends, I'm just thinking out like what people might be thinking here. If someone sends a whatever 500 plus USDC to that address, is there any kind of receipt or ledger or anything like that that shows someone did that, just in case somebody wants to know that information?
First of all, we pull the data from the blockchain. But secondly, I would like to request everyone that does invest to actually to DM me privately with the transaction hash and the amount that transferred. I will then screenshot confirmation of the deposit, simply because I like to have hard copied evidence as well. I prefer to have more safeguards than not enough.
Right. 100%. Yeah, I get it. Well, Grover, I am excited about this. Mainly because here's the thing. As this other page said, let's see where the little kind of like the quote here or the catchphrase is create your own bull, have your stake and eat it too, meaning create your own bull in any market, which
Pretty
basically
much. Well,
which is like, hey, if you use our protocol, here's what we're, as staking as a service, that is, or anything else, here's what we're doing with your token, right? And
that's
so,
correct.
whether we're officially in a bear market or whether we're going to be going sideways from here on out in 2026, nobody really knows. We could hit a bull, we might not. But what's going to be very interesting to see is, let's say, Grover, that we don't hit an overall bull market and your
Right.
protocol comes out and Plazm and Eshare are the first two onboards as staking as a service goes, and we
Well,
see the chart for both those tokens just start significant, maybe significantly is not the word, but obviously going up is probably a better way to say
well,
it.
this actually probably, since we are going on a bit, probably a little bit, is probably a good spot to actually for me to screen share my Excel spreadsheet. So um, let's see how that works.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Oh, it says you've got a replace current sharing. Okay, I'll have to do
Oh,
that.
let me
And
let me stop this, and then maybe you'll be able to do whatever.
I think it might already boot you out. Uh, right, okay. I believe
There you go. Yeah, you got it.
you up? And can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can see it. We're good.
Right, yeah, okay. Well, let's do a scenario, right? Um, pretty slow deposits per day. I've got set $500 worth of deposits per day, which, in all honesty, is pretty pitiful. Right? I've got the current raise amounts and liquidity that we've got. So that's the current live amounts of what we've got, and also the yield is set at the current rate of 30%. All right. LSAS is the settings for that are conservative at about $850 a month with a 5% adoption rate. Again, very conservative. Now, let's put in a mild bull market where it swings from -1% up to +5%. All right. We have the markets overall will be 13% up, right, after a year, right, which is a very mild upwards trend. Right. Now, what we have here at the end of the day, right, the combined value of your XL token will be $1.46. So you're 46% up, or 20% on top of the market for that first year. All right. That's in a mild upward trending environment. All right. If the second, let's say the second year, we have the reverse happen. All right. So it's gone from a mild trend up bull to a mild trend down, and you've held all of those tokens for that entire period. You're now up 74% or 74.5%. All right. If you had put money in at the beginning of that turn, you'd be down about 20%. Or if you'd held $1,000 over that 2 year period, you'd be slightly under break even. All right. That's conservative numbers with a realistic market simulator. Now, let's also look at what would happen. Let's in that scenario, in the first year scenario, if you invested the $500 minimum, right? The $500 minimum, you would get on launch $100 worth of LSteak as your as a baseline, plus $10 LSteak extra. The remainder of your funds becomes bootstrap liquidity, and at the end of that year, you would have an investment worth $819, which is a 64% increase on your investment. Now, obviously, these are not guaranteed and are simulation and examples only, but that is along the lines of an expected return for a $500 investment in pre-launch. That's also about 21% better than if you just invested at launch.
Right.
And you can see that in the charts here. Pre-launch investment return you've got here. This is the after launch investments line if you just got in after launch, and here is your investment if you got in at pre-launch, and that's only a mild upward trend. If I change that to sideways market, go to 1, so 1%. Right. Okay. Sideways markets, only one, very, very tight sideways market. All right, so only 1% up and down. Your return, the return for a standard LSteak investor is 24% on top of what they invested. As a $500 investor, you're up 43%. All right, again, if we go to the charts, you can see standard investor at launch here down at 21%, and a pre-launch investor is here at 43.45%. All right. These are the charts, show the token ratios and so forth being sideways. The actual backing per token, or the LSteak value, is slowly increasing. The extra layer token, which is the red one, is a constant linear and pretty much linear increase, and the combined effect is even more than either of them. All right. So that's just a fairly accurate representation of market conditions on what would happen if you invested.
So do you have any simulations of? I mean, I know this is for the front-facing part, but is there any simulations for, like, the partner staking stuff for like Plazm Eshare, for example?
I do. I do have to excuse, this is doesn't have an actual dashboard for it yet. This is all the maths and formulas and what have you behind it. Right. However, this one is currently set up for eShare. All right, it's currently set up for eShare. All right, so the maximum supply is 60,000 tokens. The amount of liquid supply, which is around about 70%. All right, and the amounts that they, yeah, strange has happened here. Something strange has happened here. Okay, so initial entry, like you, there's basically you enter. The initial ratio starts off at 1 to 1. All right, so token price is $15. All right, and for that first year, a lot of that is transferring value and adding more of the liquid supply. Over that year, we've chewed through approximately 20% of the liquid supply has got into the LSAS system, and the return on that for that year is 12.7%. Now, this is lower because it has to transfer value. It has to transfer value across, which is not as easy to do when you're trying not to dump tokens.
Right.
That one isn't particularly ready for front-facing deployment, but that's a a solid example of what's what will happen for the LSteak partners. Now, if we move this to some settings for to represent Plazm. So we're looking at, I think it's around about 5 million tokens at the moment. The supply is, I'd have to look it up, with about 25% of the supply being liquid. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. Again, because of the type of token it is, right, this actually dramatically increases faster because it's a much lower price. It actually quadruples in value. Oh, wait, hang on. Just wait a minute. I made a mistake. That's better. Would have been good if it was. That's where the I was going. Okay, that looks wrong. A lot of maths here, and as I said, I haven't got a dashboard for it to put the values in easily. Yes, you're looking at about 7.7% return. Again, not crazy, but much better than it's sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is for people that are, watching this video, again, what I figured out by doing this interview with Grover is that just from the staking as a service side is that
Actually,
you're getting more tokens anyways, and in addition, you're helping out the protocol or you're helping out the token essentially, raise up in price.
yeah, that's
So
right.
so even though you might think, these returns or this percentages are low, you have to also remember that the part of helping the token go up in price is also a part of the thing you're probably not really realizing or
Well,
considering.
the thing is that return is based on token count,
Right,
not token price.
right,
So that's assuming that the token price is only staying with market, which is stable. So it's the token price is stayed at 5 cents the entire time. So the actual, I'll just quickly do a. Uh, you've actually divided by that.
ladies and gentlemen, we got Grover doing live math on the call right now.
I'm trying to get it. Hang on, I've got that run wrong. Anyhow, I won't go into that right now because I just have to think about. But basically you're multiplying the price by 1.78. Right, so 5 cents by 1.78. So let's say about 6-7 cents. It's is the actual value price per XL token. All right, that's assuming the price of Plazm hadn't gone up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, the bottom line here is for everybody
Want to
watching this.
first, before we go on there, I do have to state that this one is still being developed and making sure there's no bugs. So this one is not 100% guaranteed to be an accurate simulation. This one's still in progress of being being finished.
Right. Well, Grover, the thing is once the protocol's launched, we're really going to see what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the one thing that's that I can say, because there is of how everything works, there is no there is no tokenomics or system that causes the extra layer token redemption ratio to go backwards. It's an only up ratio, right? And it's scales with price because the actual yield that it's earning. I can actually, I might stop sharing now so I can not have that up. Because the yield that it's earning is in US dollars, if the price of Plazm was to dump, right, it's buying more Plazm per dollar, right? And because the redemption ratio is in quantity of Plazm per extra layer, the redemption ratio when price dumps really rapidly speeds up because it's buying more tokens to put behind to have as back. Right. So if there's a 2.5 cent. Oh, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I think I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So for example, if the price of Plazm dropped down to 2.5 cents, right, it's buying twice as many tokens per dollar unit. So it's increasing the redemption ratio of the extra layer token by double. So if it was going up by 1% a month, just to pick a value out of to pick a value, when the token price has gone down, it's now increasing by 2% a month. So in those, so it's a system, and it's designed so that redemption ratio cannot go backwards, right? It never redeems more than it always redeems at the current ratio and burns the extra layer tokens. So there's no dilution of the actual token of the actual extra layer tokens, and it doesn't change when you redeem. It doesn't change the redemption ratio.
Well, I'm excited, Grover, because like I said, you know, the way I see this period is that it's pouring gas, for specifically for the EMP ecosystem stuff like eShare, Plasm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like this is just, an insane amount of gas being poured on top of something that's already working. It's just
Yes,
gonna make it work way better.
that's
And
right.
so,
That's right. It's going to. I mean, like it causes as I said, constant buy pressure on the token. And with the case of the synergy between Plazm and eShare, the buy pressure on eShare will increase the price of Plazm, and the buy pressure on Plazm will increase the price of eShare and Plazm. Right,
right.
so you're getting a whole heap of buy pressure, just really pumping the price there. Tokens are taken out of circulating supply. So that means that the supply demand ratio starts to heavily weigh in demand. So you're no longer buying someone else's tokens off the market from their dump. You're having to buy from the LP from liquid supply in the LP, which pumps the price because there's no tokens for people, less tokens for people to actually sell, and so forth. You're also benefiting from the yield that you're getting. There's and as the LSAS expands, you're also getting a network of other projects that will bring in potential users to eShare. If we've got Plazm and eShare and Project X comes on board, then you've got all those people that are coming to invest in Project X that go, hey, well, look at these ones. These ones are going well. They'll invest in it, and to do so, they have to buy Plazm or eShare and so forth again, and so on. So the bigger that it becomes, the more it expands, the faster it goes, the more and the more everyone benefits. So
Well, when
if you're bullish on the rest of the EMP ecosystem, you should be ultra bullish on LSteak and be really ultra interested in entering into the raise, because that's going to speed up everything once we go. The higher we can get the raise, the faster the faster it'll work for eShare and Plasm and so on.
Right, yeah. And I totally get that. And I am when LSteak launches and and when it helps eShare go to the moon, I'm gonna buy you a steak dinner, Grover.
Oh, I meant LSteak dinner.
Because best believe I'm not just, making this channel and, saying invest in eShare and I don't have my own bags. Trust me, I got my own eShare bags, like
Oh,
I'm super bullish on eShare. And so again,
same here.
when we go to the moon, trust me, man, I'm gonna have to fly over to you, take you out to dinner. If you don't eat steak, you order whatever the hell you
Oh, I love
want
my
here.
steak. Nice big juicy T-bone. No,
Cool, man.
I mean,
Well, it was great having you, Grover. What I'm going to do is, as the time gets closer to the launch, which we're kind of be in about a month from now, we'll come back on, do another interview, see where
yep,
we're at, as far as
definitely.
where the protocol is to launching, and maybe there's some new features, maybe there's stuff we haven't talked about, maybe we'll have some of the community involved, and we'll see. We'll also see where the raise is at that time. So thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. Um, and yes, thank you very much for having me. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to contact me in Telegram. I also am on Discord, but I don't use that a lot. So feel free to contact me. I'm 100% transparent and able to sit down and go through any of your queries and so forth.
So what I'll do, Grover, is I'll put the links to the website under this video and pin it in the
Yep,
comments, and also put a link to the Telegram as well, even though that's on the website as well. Sound
yep,
good?
that's great. Okay.
All right, brother, take it easy.
Yep.
Thank you again, and looking forward to the
Yes.
next video, the next interview.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, man. See you later.
Bye. See ya.